a little more high pressure because, you know, the teams in the bottom of the standings want to get those last few wins to try to make it into playoffs, or we want to get those last few wins to get first seed. So, yeah, I think everyone's just looking to grab up wins and improve.
I totally agree. Grabbing wins and improving, kind of the name of the game here in the North American LCS. And both these teams did some of that right there. Immortals had a great game one. Looked like there was a lot of improvement there. And then Contracts individually had probably his best game all year and just hard carried game two to bring them back to 1-1.
Yeah, as I mentioned on the analyst desk, definitely a put your team on your back type of game. But I do want to echo what Skara said, where despite all of those things going wrong for Immortals, with their jungler getting solo killed early and their bottom lane getting hooked in a 2v2 and their mid lane dying early, they were still competitive in fights down the stretch, down 10,000 gold. Yep. So Immortals is going to want to stay focused coming into this decisive game three, and I think we should be in for a good one.
I agree. I think this is going to be a very fun game to watch. Dardoch on your screen right there has had very large ups and downs throughout the split. Cloud9, of course, joining in as well, has been generally more consistent of a team, but not without fault, of course. They did recently lose a match to Counter Logic Gaming, and here they're 1-1 up against Immortals. And C9, to a certain extent, have been slipping in that they had like easily the best game record of any team. Like TSM would win 2-1 all the time, but they'd win their game threes, but their game record was kind of messy. C9 were like cleanly 2-0ing a lot of teams overall, and were in first place for most of the year. Suddenly now fall into second, lose a match to CLG, lose game one pretty handily to Immortals. It's slipping a little bit for them towards the end, and
yeah,
I don't know if that's cause for concern or just two bad matches.
Yeah, I mean, C9 did start the split 8-0. So we have to keep that in mind, and now they have slipped, so to speak, into second place. Just resetting the table. They're one match back of TSM. If they tie TSM in record, they'll most likely hold the tiebreaker in game score and get first. So if they win out and TSM loses one game, C9's first seed. However, if they lose this one, as well as losing to Phoenix 1, then, and Phoenix 1 wins out, then it's actually them being in the third seed. So first seed is good for obvious reasons. You get side selection throughout the entire playoffs. But I think a bigger differentiation point is second versus third, because that's where you start talking about playoff bye.
Totally agree, and you can see teams looking to get into sixth place, like Immortals, clearly capable of wounding teams like Cloud9, maybe taking them out as well. So things to watch out for as picks and bans begin for game three. Same sides as the first game. It was Malshen, Rengar on one side, Graves, Camille, Rumble on the other. We'll see if those stay the same. They're at least changing up in order. The Shen and the Graves remain the same.
Yeah, those are looking more like the power pick bans that are still evidenced in patch 7.5. Don't want to get shoved in by Malzahar, don't want to get split pushed by Shen, and you do not want to get burned by Rumble.
So Rengar, Camille were the final bans from the previous set back in game one. We'll see if those do change. We saw that Contracts was obviously able to win the game on the Rengar. They were not willing to give it away to Immortals. Willing to bargain it in game two, and that paid off for them. Now they got to realize, do we want to first pick Lulu? Do we want to first pick Rengar? What's left on the table for us?
Yeah, Immortals was able to beat C9's Lulu if they're willing to first pick it, whereas the Rengar ran over them in this game. So once again, they're in this position. Do you ban Rengar or do you ban Lulu?
Blue side Camille ban, that was banned by Immortals in the previous one, and it's going to be them banning off the Rengar and letting that Lulu come through. Now, interestingly enough, of course, it was the same 6 bans, but 2 of them swapped sides, or 1 of them swapped sides.
Yeah, so pretty interesting that that ended up happening that way, but the series obviously evolves, and that would speak to C9 wanting to play a slightly different type of team composition.
Wow, really respecting the Dardoch Gragas, and actually a first pick Gragas comes through as the most important champion in C9's mind. Again, you've got champions like Lulu and Caitlyn and things like this left on the table, and they don't care. Gragas, more important.
Yeah, I mean, at this point you're thinking, if you're C9, oh, there's not much of a difference between Ole's Karma and Ole's Lulu.
Sure.
You would think, but that is definitely a surprise, as now they get that combo of Lulu, Caitlyn.
3 straight Caitlyn games for Cody's son in this series. He has been, I would say, maybe their most consistent member. He and Ole might be pound for pound, game over game, maybe their best players as far as results are concerned. They've been performing admirably. No Karma this time around. Maybe it changes how the lane matchup works a little bit, but of course going to be Karma against them. Lulu can absolutely take over games.
Yeah, trading some picks back and forth, obviously. Karma going.
Jin comes through.
We were just talking about how Jin still exists and still quite strong. His sum of nerfs essentially was a quarter-second taken off of the slow on his ultimate, and the probably more important one is the nerf to Deathfire Touch, which is by far his best mastery. Still a good champion though, and gonna not directly match up against Caitlyn. They're kind of different types of characters now. Jhin, the long-range kind of spell-casting AD.
Yep.
Was Caitlyn very much the long-term auto attack.
Absolutely, and of course Cody-san has been good at acquiring farm, and Caitlyn very much scales off of gold and getting extra critical strike chance, so we can keep farming well, and generally speaking, Jhin not exactly lane dominant. This could spell good things for the Immortals duo. We'll see though. Cloud9 have yet to pick their carries, top lane and mid lane, and we'll have to see what it is. Of course, the Gragas is still a bit of a flex pick as the bans come through. Kha'Zix says maybe they think it is going to be Gragas top, and they're still trying to remove junglers from Contract's pool.
Yeah, mostly utility and supports being picked for both teams, and a pretty good amount of utility and support from both of them, which gives them a ton of freedom in what type of mid laners they want to play.
Still going to be that Cassio ban. We might see the same mid laners one more time through. There's that same red side Vladimir ban. Immortals really considering that Vladimir is the best blue side mid laner, it seems, in the current pick ban metagame. That's what it's telling me anyway. Maybe they have another reason for it. Maybe it's based on what champions were still left up and what were banned, but the Vlad ban has followed a Cassio ban twice now, it feels like.
Agreed there. This last ban could be
Fiora if it's game one.
Throwaway. Yeah, they banned Fiora in the situation in game one, but instead they banned Elise just because they really want to make sure Dardoch's not on one of those junglers that has very strong pick potential with CC. I like this ban more than the Fiora.
Yeah, I mean, Fiora, to be fair, would be a useless ban. I don't know why I really bothered saying it, but it was the game one ban. Obviously, Immortals had picked themselves a tank top this time around. C9 probably happy to play Maokai into the matchup. Immortals not going to ban that out, but they really thought that Gragas and Elise were the important Dardoch junglers, and they have once again pushed him off those champions. Lee Sin going to be the grab here. It's going to be who's going to play for this one, and it's going to be fun to watch for.
Yeah, this is what I thought we were going to see out of Dardoch with Lee Sin Gragas off the table in game two, and instead he picked Kha'Zix. This time, they're the ones who ban the Kha'Zix away, and instead go for Lee Sin. And here's the thing with C9 as well. They have the ability to still do Maokai top lane if they want to, and move Gragas to the jungle.
Yep. That means it's really a one-carry team at this point. Nautilus, of course, is a good jungler. Maybe means you don't want to play things like Fiora top lane, but Sneaky generally not going to be a hard carry on Jhin, especially since his damage was nerfed. Deathfire Touch lost a quarter of its damage. That is relevant. And it's tank top, tank jungle, low damage support. It is Jensen who has to blind pick pretty much 3/4 of his team's damage. Slight exaggeration, but really it is on him, and it's going to be Talon making an all AD team as well. I have a hard time believing in this.
Oh, wow. I thought almost for sure we were going to see an Orianna come in and just get a big, tanky, bruisery type team flying in, but then you throw this flanking assassin into the mix and things get really interesting, especially since if Pobelter is comfortable with this matchup with Orianna, they have the trio I've been harping on as being super good this whole time, the Lulu, Orianna, Caitlyn. And when the other team is a bunch of assassin blockers with Orianna, Shield, and Caitlyn, it makes me really favor Immortals team comp.
I agree. I do think it's going to be a very hard game for C9 to win. I don't even think they have good lanes in general, so it's got to be, in my mind, playing it out in my head, all about what contracts can get done on this early Gragas against this Dardoch Lee Sin. They've traded jungles so far in this series, but I don't know. This is a strange one for me. Maybe we'll see the logic later.
Yeah, we have kind of seen this play out in game one when Immortals had the huge amounts of CC and playmaking against Cloud9, who had the Orianna and the Lulu shields. And Immortals was able to make enough plays off of their winning lanes. I think that's the key right here, because I don't actually see these as winning lanes for C9 either, which means all of their eggs are in this mysterious playmaking basket and the ability to pull off kills.
All right, well, it's going to be on Jensen and Sneaky and Contracts, the big playmakers, one with all the clever and interesting tools. The coaches shake hands, and these players are going to be ready to get into the game. Game 3 to decide who's going to win the match right here. Immortals with a shocking Game 1 victory in Cloud9, or should I say Contracts specifically, with the snowball of a Game 2 win. But now we're here to this one. Cloud9 maybe losing grip on their playoff bye, and Immortals still on the outside of playoffs looking in. with a hard schedule in front of them. But if they can beat C9, they can beat anyone, and they can make that run happen.
Yeah, and that's going to be a huge confidence builder. Looking at the team compositions one last time, we keep seeing Jensen, or we keep seeing Talon show up in the LCS, and NA has fairly limited success. But whenever I see a champion like that despite not showing up on stage, just keeps getting picked again and again, there's something about that champion we're not seeing that these guys have experienced in scrims. Talon is still highly picked in Korea and a lot of other regions, so if C9 is to win the series, I think Jensen actually needs to have a big performance here on Talon.
Definitely agree. The team comp, low damage, lots of support. Jensen and Sneaky to put out the damage here. And Immortals hoping to close out the upset win over Cloud9 and improve to half a game back, I think, from 6th place. Half a match, I should say.
30 seconds until
4 to play. Immortals 1 match behind, but they still play both CLG and Dignitas, 2 teams just above them in the standings. I believe actually it means that Immortals are in control of their playoff destiny if they can win out. And the rest of it just depends on how many matches their opponents can win and lose as well.
Yeah, plenty of really exciting matchups coming in down the stretch. We've also seen a tale of 2 junglers for these guys, having pretty decisive jungle wins and losses in both of these games. Game 1, Dardoch heavily out-experienced Contracts, being able to clear many more camps, whereas Game 2, Contracts actually just killed Dardoch within Dardoch's jungle. So I want to pay close attention to the early paths here to see if any funny business goes on.
1 sapling from Impact. Apparently had to leave and get back to his top lane a bit earlier. Looks like he's going to fake leash the blue buff and also make sure something's happening up there. Meanwhile, Flame and Pobelter are going to help with Dardoch's start. Yep, Impact purposely losing some health, losing some mana. Looks to see which route the Nautilus might take. Really waiting around for maybe a delayed invade towards that buff.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't drop a sapling in the river, just to spot maybe an invade route.
Yeah, I really feel like he's just trying to fake like he did an extended pull, which is meant to throw Dardoch off, because as far as Dardoch is concerned, Flame could tell him, oh yeah, Impact came to lane late, most likely a blue buff start. But here, because of that, and Contract starting Raptors, he would have the potential to go into red, or if Gragas doesn't start blue, he runs really low in mana in the jungle. But if you delay the blue buff pull, Dardoch is less likely to try and steal it, which is actually what Contract was hoping to avoid.
See right there, nice attempt towards Cody Sun, dodged it away. Jensen takes a big chunk out from Pobelter, and actually walks back on the distance slow and takes an extra auto attack. Pobelter can't find the extra one there, but still heavy trades in the bot lane. Ole down to half HP.
Yeah, the level 1 Karma will outshove as well early on in the lane, so this will be a really interesting lane matchup to track. Jin has been one of the guys that's picked into Caitlyn fairly often, just because he can be so spell-based and is able to get a little bit of poke in, but Dardoch coming for an early gank on a Sneaky and Smoothie.
In on the bot lane. Can he make it happen? No minion wave just yet. There's a flash follow on towards Sneaky, lands the slow. Plenty of damage here. Do they have enough though? And Dardoch's gonna land the auto attack and a flash for the E, and the first blood comes through. That is a nice gank there by Immortals. The level 3 gank comes true and gets the kill.
Wow, 8 summoner spells burned. 3 minutes into the game, everyone was all out on that gank. Ole going really early. They needed to not get counter ganked on that. That's the super aggressive gank, because if Gragas would have been in one of those brushes, it would have been curtains for Ole right away, but they make the risk, it pays off, and they have pushed that lane into an advantage early on. Nicely
played. Immortals getting the kill down. It's Dardoch with the first blood himself. A little bit of assist gold over to Cody Sun and Ole, who take that first recall. Boots and a dagger. Gonna be nice for them as well. Jensen still having a pretty rough time in his lane phase. You can see both getting some good damage, but here comes the jungler. Suddenly Contracts a great, perfect flash from Pobelter.
Oh man, that hurts for Contract, because so often with Gragas, you kind of hold all the cards with your body slam flash, and you're able to get them right away. But when Contracts commits over the wall with that body slam, and then doesn't flash back, it also could have been done to get the catch. Watching this gank one more time, it's just a level 2 lane. Ole flash ignites immediately, which makes Sneaky want to hold on to his heal until the ignite is gone. He ends up having to heal early while the healing debuff is still there, and Dardoch just E-flashes and auto-attacks without even worrying about the little Q game, just because you don't have that much health at level 2 when you do a longsword start, so they're able to get the burst damage down.
Yeah, the red buff, the Thunderlord's damage, just ward hop into the auto-attack, flash or E-flash to follow, and one final auto to land the Thunderlords, and the kill comes through. 400 gold to a jungler's, gotta feel good. See how much more they can get with this one as Immortals still going to wave clear, otherwise holding fairly equal in lane. The kill did not go to the laner, so the actual gold injection was not that huge into the matchup.
Yeah, and Immortals burned all their summoner spells while going aggressive. So it's actually C9 that has the summoner spell advantage in terms of if they did another all-in.
See if that turns around. If anything else comes of it, Context, of course, does have Flash. Didn't burn his on the Pobelter gank. Pobelter is missing all his summoners, by the way, and Jensen has all of his, so potentially it's the mid lane that you find as the opening here. And play back and forth. Good damage into Ole. Ignite is on, looking for the kill. Thinking not going to find the equalizer just yet, but good trade all the same.
Yeah, and one thing about having talent in the game as well is the ability to roam bottom lane for ganks is greatly enhanced. Contracts also, knowing the summoner spells are down here, trying to go in, that's why there's that control word in the brush. Ole, gotta be very careful.
He's playing back, but they need to shove one more wave scene on if they want to make the gank happen. It's just not going to go through, of course. The Cannon wave takes too long. They know the Dardoch could come down and go for it, so not much more to be had, and Immortal's going to be able to come away with this without too much loss. Control word kill is something, at least, I suppose. C9 gets something out of it, but otherwise it's Gareth going back down. Quick reset means warding smite and the boots of speed. Of course, 4 items for Dardoch, who has been winning in this matchup thanks to the first blood. See, it is that 500-ish gold difference. The Forum Flame is winning the top lane matchup by 8 to 10 minions. You expect it being the Nautilus. Maybe a bit less than that with the side of the minion wave. Contracts, ooh!
Oh, my goodness. Flame was actually a little vulnerable to a gank because he burned his ultimate, and that is one of his great gank escapes, just being able to ult the guy coming for him. Would have been a good play, but Contract just with the very basic glass cone mistake, not going over the wall. Now he's scouted out by Flame.
Flame gonna grab some honey fruit. Scuttle. Okay.
Scuttle.
Left her take a snack, it's fine. Didn't actually go for all the fruit anyway. Apparently Flame wasn't that hungry. Did you know breakfast is not the most important meal of the day?
You said this the other day, and I didn't ask you to elaborate. You actually phrased it as saying breakfast is the worst meal of the day?
So that was misspeak. It's the most dangerous meal of the day. If you eat wrong, it's actually bad for you. We'll talk about that in a bit as impact. That's the one away from Dardoch. Goes for the kick into the river. Looks for Pobelter. Can they get the shockwave? That's the question. Not yet up from cooldown. Q's gonna land. There's the ulti. Nice one picked up there. Perfect by Pobelter. And here comes the chase through. Still missing most summoners. Here comes the jump in. Lots of CC to land towards Dardoch. Running down to the ignite, and they should get the kill. But the trade on Jensen gonna come through. The auto attack comes through for Pobelter. And they're gonna look for a little bit more. 2-1 so far. The kill credit. There's the explosive cast. Goodbye, a bit of space. And Contracts gets away with it, but still it's Immortals coming away with the lead now, 3-1 in kills.
Yeah, the support roams are always so critical in these early game fights off recalls. It's really a mark of a good team when the support comes in. But even with that, Immortals is able to get this kill because they started the fight so much earlier. Pobelter catches impact with just the tail end of that shockwave, which was quite pretty. And then Flame also roams here pretty quick. But Jensen's smart enough to flash out once he notices Flame, and Smoothie really does kind of turn this fight around. Jensen, though, just takes a chunk of damage from Pobelter, showing you even the early strength of the Orianna. Ultimate there from Contracts to save his life, but it is a lost fight overall for C9.
It is, and now a fight towards the bottom river. Smoothie gonna land a slow into Ole, but not get much more out of it. Shoving in the bottom lane, roughly equal in CS. Generally speaking, a lead for Cody's Sun as there's more waves to kill. So the 2-on-2 has gone equal, and it seems like the Karma's really kept this lane afloat. C9 doing much better in a lane. They were generally losing the 2-on-2 in.
Yeah, and we were wondering as well with the C9 composition, you know, what does their late game and their scaling look like? Immortals have this clear plan of having Cody's Sun with Orianna and a huge tank line that has shielding augmentation built up, but C9 just like need Jensen to assassinate the guys that have a bunch of shields. It's not very clear. So when you are down 1,500 gold in 9 minutes, things get a little bit worrying for C9.
Jensen looking for a roam here. Gets a quick deep ward. The blue buff kind of roll. This should be pretty easy. Oh, it got killed by red buff. Unlucky.
It's been a while since we've seen these messed up. It's incredibly rare now. But Pobelter not saving his spell burst and really just trying to take with auto attacks. That actually hurts. The blue buff spike for Orianna is massive, especially when you're going with that Q-max, because you just have really constant harass in the lane. Pobelter doesn't get that anymore.
Yeah, just relying on the Lost Chapel region makes it a bit more difficult for him. And Unlucky here. Shotgun's gonna find Jensen. The root's gonna come back through. Here comes the engage, and Dardoch doesn't want to be part of this. Oh my gosh, just kidding. Takes one down, blocks the shot. Dardoch is amazing. Double kill comes through, and Smoothie gonna trade his life for that kill. That was actually immaculate. 3-1 lead over to Immortals. Beautiful.
Things all go wrong for C9 and looked like, in what looked like a good start. I mean, Sneaky had even roamed over to start with the curtain call.
And here comes a dive, maybe. No minion wave. Looks like Sneaky's gonna get to recall.
Dardoch was super clean in that, but I do have to shout out Pobelter as well, surviving a super long time and still getting out a large amount of damage. Kind of makes the blue buff handoff not matter in the sense that he died anyway while still getting the kills, and then the Infernal Drake is just the icing on the cake.
And I gotta watch that again, because I thought for sure it was like, well, Pobelter's dead, sorry buddy, the gank is there, and Dardoch did so much damage.
Exactly, you gotta remember, Pobelter's got barrier, as well as the Lee Sin safeguard to work here, as well as his E-shield from Orianna. So he had the E-shield on from the beginning of the burst, and Dardoch executes Jensen, but then he's got his barrier, which delays the kill onto Contracts so much, and then Dardoch is blocking the potential Qs from Smoothie, which means Smoothie then has to flash in, but that just means it's a trade 1-for-1. Dardoch and Flame get more kills, and Sneaky Roam from the bottom has little impact after the initial curtain call.
Jeez, what a very interesting play, but it's 6-2 in kills in Immortals. I didn't know if you needed to believe the hype. They came so close to beating TSM, and he said, well, maybe that was a good week for them or a bad showing by TSM. Then the game one against Cloud9 looked as convincing, and now this game 3 looks as good as well, and Immortals maybe really have finally made the improvements they needed to so desperately late into the split.
Yeah, and it's a super important inflection point for Immortals as well, because there's been a number of series I can remember over the last few weeks where Immortals wins the first game, looks great, loses a close second game, then tilts off the face of the earth and loses game 3. But this game, they look to be informed.
And they're going to look for one more spell on a Jensen to kill him off. Smoothie's here for the shield, keeps him alive. That is still a lot burned out from Jensen. Here comes Lee Sin. Goes in on contract. Look at the damage output he's got. Forced back towards the team. Wild growth for a bit more. Chase and Ole's here part of the fight as well. 2 kills picked up. It's going to be Sneaky and Contract both hitting the mat right there. And yeah, no chance for Impact to make the TP happen. And again, another 2-for-0. More cleanliness for Immortals. Push ahead to 3,000 gold.
And Contracts is really far behind. The Runic echoes Gragas, where you're used to seeing this big, beefy tank with the top lane tank Gragas, is paper. I mean, I actually thought Dardoch was going in there hoping to kick the tank Gragas over and get an execute. Nah, he's just killing Gragas because he can kill him in a spell rotation.
You see the damage up, but there even left the kill to Pobelter. A true team player there, Dardoch is. Doesn't need all the kills. He's happy to get 3 assists. Can't quite knock down the turret. They tried to maximize the auto attacks. They really did as best they could, but not just yet for the turret kill. So first turret yet to fall. Should still go to Immortals, though.
You know, watching this one more time, it's pretty much just Pobelter getting the majority of Jensen's health down before the fight begins. Jensen sitting at about 180 health. Shields do come in from Smoothie to save, but Dardoch is undeterred. Lands the Q onto Contracts, gets the assistance of Pobelter's dissonance for damage onto Contracts. Pobelter finishes the kill on the backside of the fight, and then Dardoch gets the kick over Sneaky to finish that kill. So just everything working out really well for Immortals.
Especially just knowing that he had the backup, that he could let go of the Gragas skill and look for more on the backside. That was actually pretty nice. Of course, the Explosive Cask helped. Smite comes through, and I didn't see you actually got that, but either way, the Gromp is dead, and Smite was used by, I assume, Dardoch here. He's getting his next one back up. They fight for the wards, and Dardoch kills one back, and Vision's still an important objective down on the bot side. This game still 3,300 apart. And again, I don't think C9 have the scaling tool, so a lot leans me towards an Immortals win in this match.
Yeah, still got a call towards that draft where it looks like Immortals came out ahead based on their first priority. That first pick, Gragas, looking more and more questionable, especially with how Dardoch is performing on his, what would be secondary jungler in Lee Sin in this case.
Fair bit of damage there towards Cody's son. The bot lane still splitting for the most part. The assists and deaths have largely been from the gank pressure and the roams with the rest of the map. Jensen forced away by Dardoch. We've seen Lee Sin dive Talon before. This time around, it's Dardoch actually doing a better job with it.
Yeah.
And gonna be mid-turret
going
solo
for
gold.
Jensen, gonna burn something.
Promoter gets the kill on the turret. Jensen removes the stealth. Actually lands that! That barely landed, but the kill comes through all the same.
Jensen with flash up. I feel like he was sticking
dodged
around for CS. Could have just ran right behind his turret. Then Flame can't actually get the dredge line onto him, or he can flash, but gives another kill over Immortals, and they keep the pressure on. 5,000 gold at 15 minutes.
Looking for even more here, under the 15-minute mark, looking for mid lane tier 2. He's gonna land the Q. Look at the damage up on Sneaky. And he gets away with the root as well, so no harm at all towards Dardoch. Mid lane tier 2 gonna fall, and this game is cracked completely open. Immortals looking to close this one out in quick order.
Right, and then you also look at, like, what is C9's fallback pattern right here? Who's gonna carry this? Jensen is behind. They pick the Talon with the Orianna still up in a difficult situation, obviously on blue side, where they have to blind pick their mid laner. But Orianna's a great blind pick mid laner, and Jensen's a great Orianna. They've still gone with this Talon pick, so that's, I guess, the second thing we were questioning with their draft. The first pick, Ragus, being one. The second being the Talon as their primary carry who needed to pack a bunch of damage.
Cody
now
Sun.
It comes back. Cody's gonna have a tough time staying alive.
The Shark is here, looking for a bit more. The flash to run away, not gonna get into the traps. Cody Sun able to get them pushed away, and the kill comes through. Jensen getting a solo kill finally, a bit more onto the board. They need a lot more where that came from, but it's a start of something maybe for Cloud9.
Yeah, did burn both summoner spells on Cody Sun, but burned both of his own to get it, and was still a second away from not securing that kill as Ole was coming in with the shields. Mountain Drake up in 30 seconds. That's where Immortals are going to be going. It's going to be hard for C9 to stop it.
Yeah, it's going to be plenty of power right here, but 5v4 on the map for a short time. Maybe something comes out of it, but of course, the fact that the respawn's going to come before that Mountain Drake does means might be okay. One level deficit contract with the ward, and it has to run away from Dardoch. Does not dodge the Q. Here comes the chase. Great body slam. It's always going to work that way. Not going to get kicked back just yet, but here comes the re-engage. Ole's in the mix. And Contract's gonna die and lose his life. That's a 1-for-0. Now for a bit more, the flash away. Smoothie has to kite away from Dardoch, whose chases in for the slow, does not get the Q. Aims it pretty wide, to be honest. And here's the re-engage. It's Jensen wanting in. Can't find the kill. Here comes the tanks. Dardoch kicks back. Impact still running back for his life, and he's gonna stay afloat on this one. A quick route here into the backline as Poeta gets the kill into Sneaky. Looking for Smoothie now. The knockup is there, and the skill shot not gonna be hard to land. A double kill for the mid laner. One more comes through. It's only Jensen left alive, cutting over the walls, running away from his team. A 4-for-0 in favor of Immortals.
Yeah, and if Immortals hadn't broken the game wide open before that fight, the game's definitely wide open now. 7,000 gold, a 4-for-0 fight, as C9 kind of tried to chase down that Dardoch kill, but we kind of saw the way the rest of the game is probably going to go. All the shields on Immortals and the low overall damage on C9 just making it a compounding factor with the gold deficit to just make it so they can't kill anyone. Mountain Drake, Infernal Drake, and an extra turret to Immortals on the backside of the fight. Icing on the cake.
Icing on the cake, absolutely. And Ole, even good guy right there, walks away, lets Cody Sun get solo gold here. But this is the 4-for-0, and there's really not much C9 can do.
Yeah, Dardoch landing pretty much all his Qs. Contract's had great timing on his explosive cast, but it's just not enough to disengage, and they can't run away fast enough. Giant Dardoch gets pretty low here because of the Ignite, and Jensen ults early to go for the execute. So now that he's done that, he's out of damage. Impact flashes in, the Orianna flank comes in beautifully through a control ward. So Sneaky, that's the trouble with Jhin. You're so far away, sometimes you lose track of your own character. Easy double kill picked up for Pobelter. Impact was left 1v4, and it's a 4-for-0 fight for Immortals.
Now all I'll have to do is just win the game at this point. 8,000 gold lead, not much you're going to do about this anymore, Cloud9. And it's kind of unfortunate this game 3 is so unceremonious. I suppose all the games in the series had been big snowballs and largely based on the jungle performances. This seems like it's no exception. Dardoch at 12 of 13 KP, only 1 death. Obviously doing a lot of work this game. Still has a level lead over Contracts, but definitely not one where you're unsure of who's going to win at this point.
Yeah, and you have to shout out Immortals hugely. They have been looking better, but their match score hasn't necessarily reflected that. They were very close to 2-0ing TSM last week, but then they have had issues as a team keeping it together after bad plays. They play fast, they play aggressive, they have a lot of skill on their team with Dardoch's potential, and Pobelter's now having a better split. He was looking really rough early on, but after losing game 2, to bounce back and jump out to such a big lead in game 3 is something we have not seen from Immortals this split.
Yeah.
And that will be huge for them as they continue trying to make it into the playoffs.
And I gotta just keep kind of giving shoutouts to all the players on this team, honestly. It's a bunch of, in some cases, never was and has-beens if you went for the pregame sort of predictions. And I really like what Ole's been doing. I think mechanically he's been awesome. He used to be known as somebody who could kind of only play 3 champions. He's like, yeah, I play Morgana, Bard, and Thresh, and we're just gonna play that. In fact, his most played is still Morgana right now in North American LCS, but his Karma and Lulu, the more meta picks, that certainly look good for him. He's done some nice mechanical things, getting like double man glitter lances by using picks for 1, and his body for the other, and it's just been very good from the whole team.
Yeah, well, I think Olay is a traditional support player, and the meta has shifted heavily in his favor. Now that Malzahar is an easy ban and Zyra isn't nearly the same, he's just looked so much better on the shield and swords.
Ben Estelle, I guess you're right about that one. It fits him quite nicely. Nice juke on the knockback by Flame. Contract's hoping to juke a forward flash, but here comes the chase down, and well, one kill comes through. Of course, it's a payment for Baron Nash, or Cloud9 not going to have a really way of stopping this one. And yeah, an easy secure right here. I think it's honestly the best C9 could have done, but of course it's still advantage of Immortals because they're the leading team, and they get a pretty easy 20-minute Baron.
Yeah, here's where things get really rough for Cloud9. Another shout out to this, not necessarily shout out, but another fault in this team composition here when they fall behind, as it could be a snowball composition with Talon, is just where's their wave clear going to come from?
Right.
When Immortals comes in and sieges these turrets up with Caitlyn traps in the range.
Dancing grenade.
Yeah, it's going to be rough right here. Immortals in prime position to push down inhibitors.
Absolutely. So it's Immortals to close this one out. And at this point, we just start looking forward at this point, because with how Immortals have been playing more recently, I don't see a world where they actually do toss this game away. So I just kind of need to think about what Immortals can do farther into the future. Of course, we know Dignitas were playing at the same time as them against Team Envy. Not going to spoil that result. I just know it could be a close series, as we know Envy is not a complete slouch. Dignitas can stay ahead of them for now if they do win that match. But Immortals gets to play Team Dignitas later on, and I don't know their head-to-head record coming into this, but I know Immortals can guarantee at least one match win.
Yeah.
Cody never checks the brush. He actually hugs the river, which is very smart, by the way. He was never in range of getting jumped by Talon.
That could have stalled the push if they were able to pick out Cody Sun. And they still might try a flank here. Flame would have to TP in, and the shields are in position to help Cody Sun, but
they've got to try.
Look out, man. They're going to try.
Can they go before Flame shows in? Sweep around the brush. Here comes the play. They got 4 seconds till he arrives. Can they get the damage output as Immortals close one in?
Into the turret.
Onto the turret they go. Plenty of damage here. Jensen gets stunned up, or he will soon, but he's invisible. Damage to Cody Sun, but he just blasts down Sneaky, and this turret's helping to fight this one. 5v5, maybe a 6v5. Turret still loses some HP. Backdoor bonus not going to matter too much. Zonia's popped. No kills coming through just yet. There's the kickback on a Jensen. The death and the impact. There's going to be one. There's going to be two. Immortals looking to close out the match right now at 22 minutes into the base they go.
Flame taking turret aggro was so perfect for Immortals in that fight. That kind of exposed C9 being trapped in a team fight. At this point in the game on a Nautilus with the shields, the turret can be a non-factor. Immortals win this fight and maybe push on to win the game.
Looking for a little bit more on to the Nexus turrets. 20 seconds to the respawn, 5v3. It's going to be the closed out game, and a fast one at that. Maybe a questionable champ select from C9, but it was Dardoch, comp or not, who broke this game clean apart and then shuts the door on Cloud9. 2-1 the score is going to be here. Immortals will improve and grab another match win over the number 2 team, North American LCS, but they've got to wait for minions to respawn because the cannon minion wouldn't walk into range to stop the backdoor bonus, so I've got to take it all back. It's not over.
Oh, man.
The match score is not 2-1. It's still 1-1. Immortals got to try again.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time Immortals has crushed a team like this. Last week when they beat FlyQuest, Game 2 against them was just a massacre. Here, though, it was interesting, right? C9 is trying to collapse everything. Great, they're trapped between Curtain Call, Turret, and a whole bunch of the team. And then that ultimate was awesome. But then, because the turret went on to Flame, and Cody Sun is full of shields, he's like, okay, I will just hit the squishy people that I now have full access to. Jugger Caitlyn finishes the turret. C9 just doesn't have much damage with this gold deficit, combined with this team composition. And despite the really precarious situation they put Immortals into, it doesn't faze them.
Absolutely great play, and Dardoch I gotta give lots of credit to individually because it felt like so much effort was spent by Cloud9 to pinch him down. Let's first pick your Gragas, you ban the Rengar, we'll spend some more bans on you in the second phase, and he goes, yeah, but I'm the cleanest least in NA. What are you doing, buddy? And Dardoch, I mean, just puts them over his knee right there and gives him a couple of slaps because Dardoch has honestly done so much work this game, and Immortals, you can see they so rarely win the final game of the series. They'll improve this record to 3-5 here.
Yeah, been really bad in their critical games. I mean, this actually moves their game record with this win to 50%. So they've been actually a relatively competitive team, just unable to close a lot of these series. Final push, no Baron buff. We'd like to see him try and finish it on this. C9 going for a fight.
Here comes the attempted play one more time. Impact in the back line. Couple of body slam knockups are there. Cody Sun actually gets assassinated for one. The damage is there, but so is it for Immortals. They've got more threats in this roster. It's a 1-for-1 so far. Jensen's dead. Sneaky caught up by the dredge line. Kill comes through to Flame. Contracts body slam. Still going to get chased out. The kill might come through on an Impact. Lee Sin chasing. Gets the Q out of the fountain. Doesn't quite take the laser. And it's now up to the next. That one can't run away. So it's going to be the game closed out. The match closed out. And Immortals with the upset whenever Cloud9 continue to look for that playoff spot.
And a definitive finish to that series by Immortals. Just blasting C9, a 25-minute win where they are up 17,000 gold. That is not what you expected when Immortals walked into this C9 series today.
A smile on Flame's face knowing they did good work today. What a great game. Dardoch's Lee Sin. It was most of these games were the junglers really cracking things open. And at the beginning of the season, the junglers were overpowered. The jungle had so much XP and gold, and it was like every other day. Well, Moon's hard carrying, Acadian's hard carrying, Dardoch's hard carrying sometimes. Had a bit slower start himself, and then the jungle itself got nerfed, and it was more about the mid laners. Oh, now the bot laners are carrying a bit more. But this series was a lot of Dardoch and a lot of contracts, taking the game into their own hands and making the openings.
Exactly. They were swinging at each other hard right there. Contracts had the 15-kill Rengar game in game 2. Dardoch and Contracts hugging there, but then the 9-1-9. Lee Sin in that final game, making so many of the plays. That's the word for it as well. Beautiful. Yep.
Dardoch Lee Sin is a thing of beauty. You've got to admit that. He's very good at the champion. He's a very good player. And when he's on form, he is scary.
And that's the interesting thing, when he is on form. Because for the highlight plays that Dardoch has had this year, he's had his fair share of bloopers. Taking Qs into turrets, flying into Talon when he should be dying. But that's about Immortals turning the corner, getting their head in the right place, getting their strategy together, and occasionally, as we've seen now with this C9 game as well as their FlyQuest series, absolutely demolishing some teams.
Yep, absolutely the case. And if they can get that early snowball, then good for them. I do think that their late game shot calling was actually quite solid overall. We look at this match right here in game 1, game 3. They closed them out convincingly with very few slip-ups. Their Baron setups were great. They got, sub 25-minute Barons both games. This one, 25-minute win, of course. But so many times we see teams are like, okay, they got those first bloods, that's nice, and then they do nothing, and Immortals clearly do not have those issues. So the late split Immortals do look like a real team. And it's weird, and I'm projecting a bit much, but they might do better than the old Immortals in playoffs, which was a third-place team twice in a row. Well, Immortals can do better than that.
Yeah, I mean, Immortals lost their first series in both of the playoffs they faced. Of course, they already had the playoff bye and they're playing harder teams, but that would be the hope for Immortals. They have some tests to come.
Yes.
This is one of the hardest weeks you can draw in the LCS. They've taken down C9 now. They play Phoenix 1 tomorrow.
Yeah.
So those are the big tests that they have to be able to walk through. And then you look at the next week that they have, because there's very few games left in the LCS
CLG
split,
Dig.
and they play CLG and Dig, which gets a little bit easier. But still, those are the teams they're competing for the playoffs with. So this is the way you want to be playing late in the split. And it's all about executing now.
Yep, and I do believe they have control of destiny. If I think they can keep up with Team Dignitas, I'm pretty sure that happens here, but we'll see if that can happen overall for Immortals. But for more on that win, let's check in with Riv and the victorious jungler.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great cast on the day. I am joined by Immortals Dardoch after their victory over Cloud9 here towards the end of the split. Very much needed win as they head for the playoffs. And I have to ask, we saw some cleanliness on the non-import Lee Sin. Where is this coming back from? Because about 5 weeks ago, there seemed to be some trouble within the play, but you've cleaned it up here coming into these final weeks.
Well, we planned on picking a different character there, but I said I want to play Lee, and my team trusted me, so it kind of boosted my confidence, knowing that my teammates trust me on Lee Sin. After single-handedly losing every game of Lee Sin that we played by myself, so I just had a lot of confidence issues going into whenever I played Lee Sin, I would always think about, like, my first time showing it was against Cloud9 in like week 2 or 3 or whatever, and then I kind of killed myself top, and like that thing kind of like stayed with me. Everyone said I was bad at Lee then, so yeah, it was hard, but I'm finally getting back my skill on Lee Sin.
And what do you think kind of changed there? Because second game, Contracts kind of delivered the same medicine, but you brought it right back into the game. What do you think kind of changed there to allow you to bring that back in and bring your play to power again?
Well, I just made a bad judgment call in game 2 because normally Rengar's weakness is that he falls low in the early clear, but because he had Maokai saplings, he could 3-camp and invade me. And I do that every time I have Maokai Rengar, and I've done it against C9 in scrims, so I guess I just I got what I gave to contracts in scrims. So yeah, he played really well. He snowballed with the lead, and he won alone. He's a pretty beast.
All right, and a few more questions. With playoffs possibly coming up, does scrim change? Does it get more intensive? Do you go to 5 games now? Do you kind of start looking at Cody, Sun, and the rookies and saying these things are going to start happening and this is how to stay in the game?
Our practice has always been pretty relaxed, and like we had a pretty interesting week of scrims this week where we had like different effort levels going in, and we kind of just sat down and we're like, hey guys, we're not even for sure in playoffs. Like we actually have to beat a bunch of these good teams that we still have to play. So yeah, we're slowly getting there to the point where we're going to try super hard in scrims again.
All right, P1, CLG, and Dig to round out the split. How do you feel about the games? Final question.
I think we'll beat them all.
Fair enough. Easier said than done, but they're going to try to do it anyways. We're going to throw it to the analyst desk to break down that victory.
Thank you, Riv. Still a long road ahead of Immortals here in order to secure that playoff positioning, but this is a good start, right? 2-0, or rather 2-1 victory over Cloud9. Our second place team is going to do a lot in the way of confidence, morale, moving into the final 3 games of the regular season here. And Dardoch, that man on your screen, man, when he's on, he is on.
I mean, this is why he's such a fan favorite starting back like when he finally debuted in the LCS, is he's like a really aggressive jungler, makes huge plays, and then afterwards he's going to talk some smack, and like it just makes you fired up, and like you want to watch more League, you want to watch more of him, you want to hear what he has to say, and so like when he's on, he's one of the best players in the league to watch.
Yeah, this time around throwing a compliment over to contracts. That was a little out of the ordinary.
Yeah, only because he won.
Yeah, I was like, oh, because he smashed the series, he can throw that in there.
Yeah,
as long as you 12-1 me, but you know what he said? He's like, I gave him what I usually give. He gave me what I usually give him in scrims. I was like, oh,
it's like that compliment where it's like I usually beat him up, and he learned a little bit from me. So it's still complimenting himself.
That's true. That's very true. But yeah, you can't deny the performance crafted by contracts in Game 2. But then, as Riv mentioned there, a total bounce back from Dardoch in Game 3, saying, I want the Lee Sin. Let me put the mechanical plays together. And this game really did all start with him. I mean, we saw very early on the level 3 gank to the bot lane that helped kind of turn that around, and what was good adaptation by C9 to pull that Karma away along with the Jhin and get some presence back in that lane.
Yeah, but it does feel like the way that they draft is still like a little strange. Like the Gragas first pick is something that feels more like a safety pick than a priority pick. And
right.
If you're doing that for your first rotation without like really weird bans, overall the bans I think were fine. So it is a little surprising to see that, and makes it seem like C9 might not be totally in sync with the meta that is just starting to develop on 7.5.
Right. You think of teams that like really understand the meta well, or seem to have understand the meta well. Whenever a patch hits, there are teams that tend to be ahead of the meta. And right now it seems like Dignitas, first week it came out, right? Lulu Rengar, they're already on top of the Lulu priority. Immortals right now, they're playing Vlad, they're playing Caitlyn Karma. They already know exactly what they want to play. C9 seems like they're still maybe playing a little bit from the old meta, which they were very good on, right? They're like the kings of the old meta. But when stuff changes, like you have to hop on board.
It's the rose-colored glasses, right? They're looking back at that last patch and going, yeah, that's what we smash people on. Let's see what elements of that we can keep, right, and continue to push forward. But you've got to be flexible. That's probably one of the biggest markers of a successful League of Legends pro and team, is how flexible are you throughout the ever-changing landscape of League of Legends. I do want to jump into the game itself, because following that early level 3 gank in the bot lane, the whole game kind of devolved into that chaos, skirmish environment that we know Immortals thrives in.
Yeah, and look at this team fight. Like, okay, we go into top lane skirmish, everyone's collapsing. Right now, it looks really clean for Immortals, right? They get the pick, but it's actually a 3v2, and Jensen just goes in way too early. He needs to extend this team fight out as long as possible. Either do one rotation and sit on the ulti and Viz and run around in circles, or open with W and just sit on the ulti. But instead, he kills himself here. And honestly, throughout the game, he showed quite a lot of inexperience with the champion.
And I think really scrappy skirmishes is where your champion mastery shows the most, is you know exactly what your champion can do. In a team fight situation, go in with talent, blow them up. That's obvious. But what do you do when these kinds of like people are coming from every angle, abilities are coming out everywhere?
And to that point, Dardoch on Lee Sin looks comfortable as ever as all of this is happening around him.
Yeah, the king of this guy is so clean on mechanics-wise, and typically in small skirmishes, that's where you really shine.
Yeah, and I think we talked about how C9 kind of getting pulled into Immortals' playstyle. We saw in Game 1 there was all that scrapping and skirmishing around the top side that Immortals came out mostly ahead of. Here, they come out even further ahead with a lot of these. You see, once again, Jensen not using Talon super well there, basically trying to drop his whole combo right at the very beginning, like you said. So, yeah. And Dardoch getting out with almost no health.
Yeah, I mean, the C9 we're used to is the setup plays, right? The ones that you can kind of see a minute or two in advance. You're like, all right, they're going to push out this bot wave. They're going to set that up for a slow push and get the TP flank from Impact or something off of a base recall. But that none of that happened in this game because they were given no room to breathe.
And it's not like Jensen's battling Assassins. You see his Echo play, I think it's probably the best in the league,
disgusting.
Right? But his talent play right now looks pretty off. And it just shows that he doesn't have that many games on it. And as the patch changes, every major region is picking up talent right now. And this is going to be like the top tier 80 Assassin champion at the moment.
All right, let's look forward here because Immortals now moves to 7-8, C9 down to 11-4. But for Immortals and their kind of push for the playoff picture, still have left to play Phoenix 1, Dignitas, and CLG as their 3 teams, right? So you're looking at Phoenix 1, who's looking fairly strong here in the last few weeks of the split. And you're looking at Dignitas, right, who seem to be on the rise quite well. And CLG has still managed to pull games off of people in late game scenarios and with the macro shot calling. You know, they seem the most wishy-washy of those 3 teams, but that's still quite the squad of teams that you're going to have to push through here at the end of the split. How are we feeling confidence-wise when it comes to this Immortals squad?
I actually feel pretty good. I mean, at the start of the day, we were talking about FlyQuest versus Immortals, and I think with them beating C9 here, I feel even better about it. They took TSM to 3 games as well. Their early game seems totally electric as long as Dardoch is playing well. This game, I mean, game 2, it was the contract show, so obviously Dardoch didn't have a chance to perform, but I think as long as Dardoch gets the team off the ground, they actually play pretty well. So I'm not going to say they're going to go 3-0 like Dardoch said.
Right.
I expect them to still lose a couple series here, but I think that they have a pretty good chance of making it into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think at least they'll win one of the 3 series. I think that doesn't secure them 6, but it gives them a really good chance.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll be in the conversation for that. We haven't got all the math worked out just now. Still so many possibilities when it comes to the playoff picture. Final thing here, Dardoch picking up player of the game. That's not going to come as a surprise to anybody with that game. But I think it does hit on a very important thing with Immortals, which is that so much of their success still hinges on his performance individually.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Scar was saying that their lanes are stabilizing more. The bot lane seems to be something like you can play around, but it's not like they win the game on their own. It's like now they have pressured bottom. Maybe we can make more dives happen, or like our mid lane's stable. I can set up ganks for him better.
And I think I've phrased it wrong, or like I've said it throughout the season. I don't really know if it was the right way to say it. I don't think Dardoch being their win condition is a bad thing.
Right.
I think they have an explosive win condition. This is something that a lot of other teams do not have. Teams that wish they had Dardoch, a lot of them do. And so, yeah, sure, maybe he loses you some games here and there, but right now he's winning them a lot more games than usual.
I think the major thing is that if you have an explosive player like that who can both win and lose you games, as he mentioned in the interview himself, he has also been, you know, the sole reason why the team has lost games. When you have stronger lanes, you cover those few instances in which Dardoch does maybe face check or invade too aggressively and give up a kill or two, right? So as the team around him gets stronger, gives him more permission to make the game-changing plays that we've seen more recently.
I think that's a great way to put it, because in the first couple of weeks, like, Pobelter was just dead all the time and his bot lane was getting smashed. So when he does go for that one bad invade and die, that might be game-breaking on its own. Now it can happen once or twice maybe because your mid and bot lane are more stable, Flame doing well as well. So overall, just a lot more room to work.
Immortals looking a lot better here in Week 8 and walk away with an upset win over Cloud9. We'll see if FlyQuest can do the same in their match against TSM after the break. More on LCS when we return.
Go, keep doing it.
Okay, I'm coming.
Back.
Hey, I'm going. I'm going. I'm going.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Oh, I killed Jin.
Okay, we go.
Nice.